Hey, so today we're going to talk about tax receipts and acknowledgement for donations. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, Tiffany here with Boss on a Budget. I help new and small nonprofits get up and running. If you need help with your nonprofit, don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I drop a new video every single week. All right, so today we're going to dive into the topic of tax receipts and donation acknowledgement letters. Now, I have a bunch of different caveats in this video. I just need you to stay with me, okay? Just stay with me because we're going to break down some complicated information. And before I kind of go deep into it, I just want to say one thing. I am not an attorney or an accountant. Even better, I am not your attorney or your accountant. So what I am doing in this video is summarizing information from the IRS. But absolutely, you need to take that information, read for yourself, and also talk to your own professionals that you have, your accountant and your attorneys or whoever you're using to help, your treasurer, all of that. Okay, so this is just general information. I'm also simplifying it. And just to let you know, most of what I'm talking about is from a document that the IRS has put out. It's publication 1771. The name of the document is Charitable Contributions, Substantiation, and Disclosure Requirements. So let's talk about the three major things to take away from this, okay? So the first things first is, in order for a donor to write off what they give to your organization, they have to have a written record, okay? So you're not required to provide a written record on every donation, which is what I'm about to get into. But if they want to take the deduction or they want to claim that donation on their taxes, they have to have a written record. So that could be a bank statement or it could be a written acknowledgement letter from you, your organization, okay? So it's not required for you to do it for everyone, but in order for your donor to be able to use that and use that information, they need a record of it, especially if they've given you cash, because they're not going to have a bank record with cash. So they're going to need some kind of documentation from you. The other thing is you're not required to send an acknowledgement letter unless the donation is $250 and up and it's a single contribution. So you don't have to give the letter or you don't have to send the letter at all until you meet that threshold. And I'm going to give you some caveats and just stay with me because I want to talk about that. And then the third thing is you have to acknowledge if you provided a good or a service in exchange for the donation. So for example, if someone gave to your organization and you gave them a book in exchange, you have to disclose that you gave something in exchange or disclose that you did not give any goods or services in exchange. But what I will say right now is there's the IRS rules and then there's best practice. So in a lot of my videos, I'll tell you what the rules are, but I'm also going to tell you, like in terms of strategy and just doing the right thing, this is what you should do. So the rule is you don't have to send an acknowledgement letter for every donation, but I would recommend that you do for two specific reasons. First of all, it's just easier. So there are a lot of different amounts that you have to judge. You got to have formulas in place. Is it this amount? And did this happen? Did this happen? It gets really complicated. And as a new nonprofit, for you to have to sit and figure that out for every donation is not worth it. So to make it easier and streamlined for you, I just recommend that you just send an acknowledgement letter every single time you get a donation, and then you'll get used to it. It'll just become natural for your organization, and that's just good practice. The second reason why is because you want to acknowledge every gift. You don't want to set up the precedent that just because someone gave more, they deserve an acknowledgement versus someone who gave like $5, for example. Every donation matters, and you need to make sure your donors feel like every donation matters, because that $5 may turn into a bigger donation later. Or what if that person consistently gives $5? I don't know about you, but that's important. That's important that someone feels like they can still give to you on a regular basis, even if it's a small amount. Okay, so let's talk about what you should put on that acknowledgement. Like if someone gets a tax receipt from you, what information should be on it? So first things first, put your organization's name and your address or your contact information on there. Put the donor's name, put the date of the donation, put how much money was given and how they gave the money. So did they give cash? Was it a credit card payment? If they did not give money, a description of what they gave. Now, I'll stop here and say, if someone gave things to you, do not put a value on those things. Just describe what they gave you. For example, maybe they gave you 3 bags of used clothing. Then I would put on the receipt, received 3 bags of clothing, and then maybe shirts, pants, whatever was in the bag. You know what I mean? Because it's not your responsibility as an organization to assign a value to what they gave you. That's their responsibility. So you know how when you go to like Goodwill and you donate and they give you a receipt, but it's blank and you have to fill in the amount? That's why, because it's your responsibility as the taxpayer to assign the value to what you gave. The onus is on you, and you put that information in and use that information when it's time to file your own taxes. Okay, so the last thing you should put on the letter is some kind of statement that no goods or services were exchanged for the donation, or if goods and services were exchanged for the donation, you need to put a description of what that was and assign a value to what you provided. So it's the exact opposite of what I just talked about. If you as an organization gave something to someone, you have to assign a value to what you gave. And the reason why that's important is because there are certain rules around how much a taxpayer can deduct if they got something for their donation. So they need to know the value of what they got so they can figure that out on their own and do the calculations on their own. So the rule of thumb is if you're the person giving the good or the service, so if you are the organization and you gave the good, then you have to assign a value to it. On the flip side, if the donor gave you some goods, they have to assign value to it, okay? So don't feel like you have to assign a value to something that someone gives you. That's not your responsibility. That's the responsibility of the giver. Okay, so let's talk about timing of these acknowledgement letters. So in terms of the IRS rules, they require that you send out an acknowledgement letter either by January 31st of the next tax year or before taxpayers start filing their taxes. So that's the rule, which gives you a lot of leeway. But let's talk about what's best practice. Best practice is as soon as someone gives something to you, you should acknowledge it with the letter. So, for example, if someone gives to you online, you should have some kind of automated process where they immediately get a tax receipt from you so they can get the information they need right then and there. If you don't have that capability for whatever reason, then try within 48 hours to send out a thank you and an acknowledgement for somebody's gift. Now, this is when it's possible. I'm sure that there are situations where you can't gather the contact information for people and it's really difficult for you to acknowledge because you don't know who they are, you don't have their contact info. So I'm talking about when you can get that info, when you do have that info, make sure you send out that information as soon as you can. The other thing to this is that you want to think beyond a tax receipt. Okay, so it's great to have a record of what someone gave, but it's even better if you give a personalized thank you on top of that. So tell somebody what their gift just did. You want to use this as an opportunity to begin an ongoing conversation with your donor. So this is your opportunity to introduce yourself to the donor. Hey, this is the organization. This is what we're about. Thank you for your gift. As a result of your gift, this is the good that you're going to do, or this is what other gifts have done, and give examples of that, give quotes, give stories, give videos, whatever you can to put your personality on it. So right when you have the attention of the donor, right when you have that, you are able to begin and start that relationship, and you're kind of training them to begin to hear from you, and you're opening that conversation, you're opening that back and forth. So if you do not have one, I highly recommend you have some kind of mailing list or email marketing system like MailChimp or MailerLite, where you can start sending emails to your donors to start that conversation. So the moral of the story is Just make sure you acknowledge every gift that you give, and then make sure in your acknowledgement form you have all the things listed that I talked about in this video, including whether or not someone got some goods or services in exchange for them giving to you. Okay, so check out the description box below. I will link all of the IRS publications that's important that you need to read for this particular topic. Also, if you have questions and you want to reach out to me, visit me at www.bossonabudget.com, and I will see you in the next video.